Good afternoon, everyone. We are rolling live. It is Thursday, February 6, 2025. We are looking at people rioting over eggs. We're seeing eggs stolen in massive amounts, $100,000 worth stolen across the USA. We're starting to see people steal a lot from the stores. We are just watching all of these things. It's crazy, really, to think that we are right now witnessing a complete downfall of this civilization. Let's go ahead and watch this video. We do have some commentary coming in. Thank you guys for being here with us. If you're joining later, go ahead and let us know where you're coming from, what part of the USA, what part of the world. We're all friends and family here, so we're just watching this dumpster fire. Let's go ahead and see what's happening with this video. Now, maybe there was some other altercations here, something else that led to this, but it sure looks like this was just getting to the yoke of it. Sorry if I didn't disrespect you. Sorry about that. Don't get into the comments right now, bro. So somebody's coming in here and buying plat after plat of eggs. So how many, if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 25 eggs per plat, if that's right. Probably a bunch of 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deep at least. 250 per row. I mean, this guy's buying thousands and thousands of eggs. What's he doing with these eggs? I don't freaking know. Maybe he owns a restaurant or something. Knights of Miru, thank you so much for becoming a member off of this video. I appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our members who have said, make these videos live for everybody so that we can all watch them together. That's right, we're getting empowered here because this world is freaking crazy. So here's a guy basically getting into a fight over eggs. Let's see what people are saying about that. He said these are the same people fighting over other stuff. Now, this is a little bit older. I think this is maybe a week-old video at least. People are saying for real, losing their minds. Got an AI image of Gollum here with an egg. My precious, because that's really the state of what we're at right now. Is my precious is the low-cost eggs. All right, let's see what else we've got going on. All right, this is reportedly on the U.S. border and coming out within the last 48 hours. Nuevo Laredo, Mexico. They say a war has started. It doesn't look like this guy's at a range to me. Does it look like he's at a range to you? Now, I want to remind you, you've got politicians inside the USA saying what? Get out into the streets. Fight. Take down this administration. They're saying, Elon Musk, we will see you in the street. That's pretty inflammatory, if you ask me. And then you've got the Border Patrol. What did the Border Patrol? They said that we are being warned that you're going to start to see massive amounts of unrest on the border. You're going to see the weaponization of drones on the border, and you're going to start to see all these different things take place. Let me see. We've got a little bit of a video feed issue coming in. I'm trying to get us on the right page here. So what are you guys seeing in your area? Do you think people in your particular area are even concerned about this, or do they not really care? And so they're not really paying attention to whatever's happening there. Let's see. What else have we got here? I mean, these guys are obviously engaged in some sort of gunfight. President Trump's plan for the largest tax cut in the history for the middle-class working Americans. He has said, let's watch what she has to say.
So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise that the president made. No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay. Renewing President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest tax SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team.
So eliminate all the special tax agreements for the billionaire sports team owners. I don't know why they are targeted in particularly, because this is a corruption issue all across the board.
Owners, close the carried interest tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for Made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done. So these are the tax priorities of the
All right, so no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime pay, the reviewing of the middle class tax cuts, adjusting the SALT cap. For anybody who doesn't know what the SALT cap is, let's kind of get into that. Under current law, households can deduct 10 grand that they pay in state and local taxes from the amount of their income that is subjected to federal taxes. However, the future of the SALT deduction limitation is uncertain because it is scheduled to expire at the end of the year 2025. The federal government may let the limitation expire and extend the cap, or extend the cap with a higher deduction limitation, though the timing on the federal action of this is not clear. Now, you and I need all the help that we can get, because what they have done is made it so, hey, Derek, glad to have you here. They've made it so that it's really hard for us as individuals to get the same out of this world that we were used to getting. If you look back at the 1900s and the early 2000s, except for those hiccups that we really had, you as an individual had the chance to get ahead. And right now, we don't have that chance anymore, at least not as a general population. And instead, people are just getting into trouble, and they're getting into trouble financially very quick. All right. Netanyahu.
Now, Israeli Prime Minister.
I got to flip this one around, so we're just going to listen.
Sir Benjamin Netanyahu is with us. Mr. Prime Minister, great to have you back, sir.
Good to be with you.
First, once again, my condolences after all your country has been through. The equivalent of 40,000 dead Americans a day in a single day, and murder and rape and kidnapping and torture and beheading, and now, the country holding up.
Well, it's holding up remarkably because of the spirit of our people and the indomitable courage of our soldiers and the resolution of our government to roll back this tide of terror, this murderous mass, hit Hamas and hit the Iran axis that sponsors Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and is committed to destroy Israel. They thought we were just going to fold. And a year and some later, they're folding. And we're going to continue until we achieve victory over our enemies that are your enemies, because these people chant death to America, death to Israel.
Now, this is an important part. I got a little bit of clip of this earlier. This is Netanyahu giving a little bit of alignment with Trump. Trump just came out recently, and Trump was talking about how we were going to take over the Gaza Strip. They're going to send your money in there. So here, listen to some of the alignment here with Netanyahu and the American people.
And we're going to continue until we achieve victory over our enemies that are your enemies, because these people chant death to America, death to Israel. You're the great Satan, we're the small Satan, but we're standing in their way.
Now listen to that. He says, you, America, you're the great Satan. And Israel is the small Satan. And what he's talking about, at least you would hope, is that they're talking about how Iran and other countries that really hate the USA, hate Israel, push an agenda against Israelis. But remember,
we're defeating them. A year and some later, they're folding. And we're going to continue until we achieve victory over our enemies that are your enemies, because these people chant death to America, death to Israel. You're the great Satan, we're the small Satan, but we're standing in their way. Well, we're defeating them, and our victory is your victory.
Darren.
So he says our victory is your victory. Speaking about what happened.
Agencies that hate America and hate Israel. He's done enormous things. Yes, he's the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House.
So that's a backup there. He had said this at the actual press briefing. He said that President Trump is the greatest friend that Israel has ever had inside of the White House. So keep a watch here. We're going to see a lot. You can mark this down right now. Write it down on a sheet of paper in front of you. Send yourself an email, something. I'm telling you right now, we're going to see a lot more action with Israel inside of the Middle East in 2025.
You said that you believed about that in Gaza to me.
Yeah, well, I don't think he talked about sending U.S. troops to complete the job of destroying Hamas. That's our commitment. That's our job, and we're absolutely committed to it. And I also don't think he said that he's going to fund it. He said that neighboring states, wealthy states, would do it. But the actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave, they can then come back, they can relocate and come back, but you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you can't have This is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea. And I think it should be really...
You can see him watching his notes. He's really careful with what he's saying, because a lot of what Trump did come out and say is kind of like biting the people that are part of this administration in the behind right now. So he's reading his notes, making sure not to say certain things.
Pursued, examined, pursued, and done, because I think it will create a different future for everyone.
Two things the president said yesterday. One is that we have to ensure Hamas is eliminated and restore peace to that area. And the second thing he said is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. You are the first leader of a state. You're the first to have the entire nuclear.
Well, there's no question Iran is gearing up to get nuclear weapons. They probably would have been there 10 years ago already if we hadn't taken various actions to hold them up. We held them up, we slowed them down, but we haven't stopped them completely. So yes, they're seeking to do that. And of course we discussed this. And the president said something very simple, which I said as well. Iran must not be allowed to have nuclear weapons. It's that simple. And it's just about all I can say about it.
So I think we might start to see now, Trump came out and he said that Iran would be obliterated. We see Netanyahu saying, reaffirming what Trump said, that Iran must not be allowed to have nuclear weapons. So I think this year you're going to see maybe some sabotage at the Iranian nuclear facilities. You're probably going to see some sort of internal fighting inside of Iran, on the streets of Iran, and you might even see a disarmament of the Iranian nuclear capabilities program this year. So if that happens, we've already started to watch what's going on across the Middle East. We've already seen their threats. We've already seen all these other things happen. So just watch out for
Iran
what comes
should not
next.
have nuclear weapons.
Well, they can have nuclear weapons. I would think, the president talking about other countries in the region, Egypt, Jordan, the Saudis, the Emirates, I would think it's in their best interest to help resolve the issues in Gaza and Hamas.
Arab countries have shifted from seeing Israel as their great enemy to seeing Iran as their great enemy. They don't often say it, they often hide it, but they recognize that Israel is the one country in the Middle East that fought Iran. We fight Iran. Iran openly declares its goal to...
Now, I want to just tell you, we're watching this to see a little glimpse into the future of what's going to happen in the Middle East. That's the preparedness, the prepper side of things. That's what you're watching right now. These trends are starting to appear. You're starting to see the forest beyond the trees. The smoke is clearing. You can put in whatever terminology you want. You're starting to see a materialization of what's probably going to make up a great part of the trials that our world is going to experience in the year 2025.
To destroy us. We didn't seek that conflict. They seek it. They openly say that they will wipe out the Jewish state. And they openly say that their goal is not merely the Jewish state, but to conquer the Middle East and go beyond that. And also blackmail the United States with nuclear weapons. So in resisting this and taking action against this, we're not only doing it for our own survival, but again, for the interests of many countries in the region, the U.S. interest as well. I think the interest of peace in the world. You don't want a world in which the Ayatollahs have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. That's not going to produce peace. That's going to produce the most horrible of wars. It has to be stopped.
So he's saying that will produce, if Iran does get nuclear weapons, that action in and of its own will produce the most horrible war. And I think maybe you're getting a little bit of the behind the scenes, what has been said or agreed to or mentioned between the USA, U.S. allies, Israel, Israeli allies, in what they will do if there is any sort of proof, or maybe even fake, false proof, that Iran has a nuclear weapon and a delivery capability for that weapon or that weapon system.
I think the interest of peace in the world. You don't want a world in which the Ayatollahs have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. That's not going to produce peace. That's going to produce the most horrible of wars. It has to be stopped. Military power, not all. There's some left, and we'll make sure that it's not there. when this war ends, and it could end very quickly. Second, we've released so far about 70%, more than that actually, of the live hostages, which nobody believed we would do. And we're committed to getting everyone out, both the living hostages and unfortunately also the dead hostages, which Hamas also keeps. They're that cruel, they're so monstrous. They actually keep bodies as hostages too. It's just incredible.
What is it about psychology when somebody's making a statement and then their eyes start shifting? Is he just looking at something over here? There's something to be said about psychology.
The dead hostages, which Hamas also
right
keeps.
About here.
They're that cruel, they're so monstrous. They actually keep bodies as hostages too. It's just incredible.
There's definitely something to be said about the psychology of that. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, the USAID stuff is mind-blowing, and it's just starting. We're just starting to see now how corrupt some of what has happened has been. You just got here, the egg fight. The egg fight was at the beginning of the broadcast. All right, let's see what else we got, because I'm tired of watching that. Homan reveals that he found out.
Shouting and helping these people get away with bullhorns. How is that legal? To get help from the people in the streets? I know they can protest, but that's not what they're doing.
You're exactly right. When they come to they cross the line of impediment, and that's why I'm working very close, starting this morning with Department of Justice, and where do they cross that line of impediment? So they may find themselves in a pair of handcuffs very soon. So working with DOJ on that, get some legal guidance on that. I'm not an attorney. I know what SecOps is about. I know what crossing that line is, but getting DOJ back up on that. So it's something we're looking at right now, Harris. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. This is not a game. When we show up these sites, this is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and all the DOJ agencies. To have that type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the goal here. So we're addressing that immediately today. I'm addressing OPSEC today, Operational Security, how these leaks are happening. We've already done it.
Yeah, I am. You're right on that. I am seeing a lot of food trucks get robbed. This is what you see when people can't afford to buy their groceries. You see these fights over eggs and flour and rice at the grocery store. You start to see all of these different things happen because people are at their wits' end. They can't cope. They can't handle it anymore. They don't have any good options. And so they're making really bad decisions, scary decisions. And so for us as people, we need to start to be more aware that these types of things are possible every time you go to the grocery store, every time that you pick your kids up at school, every time that you talk with somebody in public. You're not in the 1940s version of America where there was really relative safety while you're outside or in a public space. And right now it's shifting where you're relatively unsafe unless you're controlling that environment from a defensive standpoint. So think about that. Food trucks getting robbed, egg fights, flour fights, grocery fights, people following people from the grocery store. I saw a post about someone who was followed from the grocery store. They spent about $400, right? They got followed home from the grocery store. And then as they were in their trunk taking the stuff inside, these people came up and non-violently, while they went inside, they came up and took all of the groceries out and put them inside their own vehicle. It took seconds, guys. Literal seconds. Think about how many times you have left groceries inside of your vehicle while you're walking them inside, or while you have family doing this and helping you. If you're not behind locked key, locked gate, you are exposed and vulnerable to this sort of crash and run behavior. So just pay attention to it.
How this operation got leaked, I'll deal with that today.
So there's Homan saying that they know how the operation got leaked and they're working with the Department of Justice to make it so that they can criminally charge people from this point forward.
And Democrats want to impeach. Today, Democrat Al Green, not Trump.
Protect themselves from us. This is a dictatorship in the making. We're not going to have apartheid in America anymore. Elon Musk has not been elected to anything.
And who the hell does Musk think he is? He has
see a trend here?
absolutely no right in shutting down USAID. We cannot allow that. We've got to take to the streets.
First and foremost, Elon Musk.
Elon's the first government.
Crazy. I mean, there's just so much anger and hate going out.
Website's down. And there's
Pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame.
All right, let's move past that. These clowns have little time left, so they're going to get unsettled. Senator Eric Schmidt breaking down some of the insane spending.
Defend this kind of stuff. $45 million for diversity and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil. $125 million to racialize public health.
Now, I want you to remember that, mills to them, millions of dollars of your taxpayer money to them is like, I don't even have anything so cheap in front of me that it wouldn't matter. It's like your kid spending $3 on something silly. So to them, spending $100 million on something is kind of like if your kid's playing a video game and he wants a skin and you're like, you're playing for something they already made and they're just giving you access to it to put it on your character for $10. It just seems silly in some cases, or to people who don't have interest in there. So they have an interest in spending your money in these ways. And so the $100 million here, the $500 million there, the $40 million here, each one of those leaves that fall off the tree are getting raked back in by these politicians. They're just raking them in so that they can put them back in their pocket places. So yeah, can't we all get along? I wish.
For diverse birdwatcher groups.
Well, that is important. We need to diversify our birdwatching organizations.
USAID, which is in the center of the storm right now, and rightfully so, spent $1.5 billion to, quote, advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland.
Well, I mean...
$2.5 billion for electric vehicles for Vietnam. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Columbia. Not Columbia, Missouri, or Columbia, South Carolina. The country of Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. $2 million for sex changes in LGBT.
It just keeps going, doesn't it? Now, there is a little bit of repetition here that I'm noticing. Some of these things I heard about, like the Colombia thing, and there's a little bit of reiteration, but it doesn't change the audacity of the politicians and what they have done. All right, Joe Rogan obliterating Bernie Sanders and the Soros family. I don't really want to watch this one because I don't want to audio it because YouTube doesn't like Joe Rogan at all, but I'm going to read to you what it says. I'm going to flip this around so you guys can read it with me. Bernie Sanders making a post about how Donald Trump trying to silence independent media, Joe Rogan says, was the wildest gaslighting, of course, he's got to do this to me, I think you've ever seen for a politician. Independent media, he says, CBS, Alex Soros warned that the U.S. has become an unelected cabal wielding power under Trump and Musk. And then he says, that's you, Alex. That's your dad, Rogan shot back, exposing the hypocrisy of a billionaire heir complaining about elite control when his own family owns or wields massive influence over global politics. Now, I don't know your thoughts on what's happening, and maybe you guys could let me in on what your thoughts are, but I think we're literally at the beginning. I think this is just a taste. This is an appetizer.
Everything that's going to be everything that's
Okay, I got to flip this around.
going to be happy. People of
Red Hot
religion
Gaming,
are
thank you
going
so
to be
much.
happy again.
Thanks for the super chat. Things are definitely ramping up.
And I really believe you can't be happy without religion, without that belief. I really believe it. I just don't see how you can be. So let's bring religion back. Let's bring God back into our lives. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Great honor. Thank you.
That's right, Nemesis. We are just starting to see how bad it's going to get. Now, our founding fathers did have a lot to say about the separation of church and state. But let's face it, what they have made out of that separation, even on the opposing side of things, is a religion of non-religion, or a religion of hatred, and a religion of bias. So I don't think that the founding fathers necessarily said, you don't have to condemn or demonize anybody. So I think that was more along the lines of, what was going there. But here's Trump saying, bring the big God back in.
News at a Fox News alert now on that employee buyout program, but the out that to offer this buyout, that any buyout would have to be authorized by Congress.
Hey, Breakaway, good to see you. They opened up 2 seats in the White House press office for independent news reporters. What do you say, Brad? Do you want to go to the White House? I'll go if you'll come with me.
George O'Toole, who's a federal district judge up there in Boston, has put a temporary injunction.
Now, apparently, there's 60,000 workers right now who have accepted the buyout. And that's before it went to the CIA. And that's before it went to other organizations. 60,000 workers that have accepted this buyout program. Now, they're afraid of what's going to happen and what's going to come. And so they're getting out quick. Would you accept a buyout right now from your job, no matter where you're working at? Would you accept a buyout today? Because you see the direction that things are going, not necessarily with Trump or with the administration, but just with the way things are going in this world. It would definitely be worth thinking about. Would you accept a buyout today? And maybe that's what some of them are doing. Maybe, okay, all right, Breakaway. Maybe that's, maybe it's not all just dirty crooks who are trying to get out before the hammer comes down, the hammer of justice comes down. I can hope.
On the midnight deadline for employees to submit whether or not they're going to take the buyout. He has now extended that until Monday at the very least. Again, these federal unions are saying that any kind of buyout like that would have to be authorized by Congress, and also argues that what the Trump plan is here is to replace career civil servants with, quote, partisan loyalists.
Okay. Now, what I know is Trump's a get-her-done kind of guy. And we have seen, even when it doesn't make sense, we're seeing him be able to get things done.
The problem is systemic in the sense that all the American people get to understand about the billions, if not trillions, of taxpayer dollars.
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate
hemorrhaging to these foreign countries or to these U.S.
How far north in Florida? We were in the Tampa Bay, Manatee County area.
U.S.-based NGOs is like the start date, the end date, and maybe 50-word summary, and who it's going to. And the summary is typically something along the lines of countering disinformation. And the group that it's going to, sometimes it's an undisclosed foreign recipient or undisclosed domestic recipient, and there's nothing we can do to understand who that money.
Fed Up Nurse says, my brother-in-law is a federal worker. Something with wildlife management and land management. He took the offer to leave.
He's going to. But more precisely, and this was reporting that Raheem Kassam and I had said over.
This is Natalie Winters, apparently. Secretary of the USAID grant database is by design. The secrecy, excuse me. Look up the addresses of entities receiving millions of dollars on Google Maps, and you'll find shacks or empty land. They say it's pure money laundering. Breakaway says my ex-wife was a manatee. All right. Okay. I see what you're doing there. All right, let's move past Natalie here, even though she did have some good stuff to say. Nope, missed that. Okay. Kennedy.
Been in the Senate.
I've got to turn him down a little bit.
For 8 years. In dog years, that's 56 years.
That's important to know.
Common sense is illegal in Washington.
Did you hear about the eggs stolen? Yeah, so I earmarked that as soon as it was happening, coming across the police lines. Then Jordan, a moderator here, a friend of ours, messaged me because it's in his home state. And then, of course, now it's kind of blown up. That's not the only theft.
They can't get their mind around doing anything other than the Washington way. Some of them, particularly in the media, they go almost catatonic, or the exact opposite. They foam at the mouth. And they really get upset. They could make...
Okay, I think I hear too much background music there. And, we got dinged on last night's video because there was a little bit of background music. And YouTube, unfortunately, through some mechanism that doesn't make any sense to me, you don't get any, if you super chatted me and then YouTube says, well, sorry, you had background music on there, they give your super chat to that publishing company. It's crazy. I just don't get how they think that 10 seconds of somebody's audio made or broke the video for somebody else doing commentary. But that's the state of the world we live in. Hopefully, somewhere down the line, all the change that we're seeing will go a little bit more of the flavor that you can really say what you want to say, do what you want to do back in this country again. If you're not harming somebody or yourself, then it's pretty open.
You can imagine when you suddenly in your inbox.
This is apparently Samantha Power, was in charge of USAID, has been fired, isn't very happy about it.
Find a termination notice.
That's something right there.
Or a leave of absence notice that you didn't expect to get on a flawed predicate that you're doing radical leftist insubordination.
She's got an earpiece in her right ear, maybe your left side. Oh no, yeah, your right side, my left side. So she's got an earpiece in. I wonder if she's just parroting whatever she has going into her ear. Is that just a parroting right now?
It's pretty jarring, and because there's so many lies and falsehoods circulating, and so many claims that people are sort of not with the program, I think people are just completely dislocated. There's no stable ground on which to walk.
Somebody said she's drunk and high.
And then, of course,
I don't know about high because those pupils aren't pupilling, but maybe.
Most of them have been laid off, so they're worried about how they're going to pay the bills.
If she's high, she's on the slows, man. She's not on those uppers.
And how they're going to make rent. But maybe the part that is the most striking and for me inspiring.
That's a dude, somebody said. She got that perky D?
Not surprising, having worked there for 4 years, is that, you know, the people who work at USAID did not come to work at USAID for the money. The civil servants, the foreign servants, the contractors.
Thanks, Isaac.
They came to USAID because they wanted to make a difference in the world, because they saw America's interests as tied.
Good riddance to her. I keep seeing people say that's a dude, it's a guy. You know, YouTube, when you look at this to review it, I'm not saying these things. Don't hate on me.
Up with the interests of people, vulnerable people.
Just a strong woman, okay? A very strong woman.
Around the world. And so even as they're struggling to figure out how to make rent, all of a sudden, they're most struggling with the fear that so many millions of people who relied on us as a country, on USAID as an agency, but on them as individuals.
Strong jaw. I'm going to look it up. There's just too many people saying it's a guy for me not to look it up and just see. Former United States ambassador to the United Nations, 54 years old. It's been a rough couple of years, it looks like. Irish-American journalist, was a diplomat. Hey, Isaac, thanks for the super chat. Keep up the great work. I appreciate you. Served in the administration, government who served in the administration of the USA for International Development, 21 to 2025. Previously served as the ambassador to the United Nations. The pictures aren't doing much better justice. Let's just see. Let's put that TRAN's word in there and see. I see a lot of advocating, but I don't see any admission of the personal things there. So who knows?
That those individuals out in the world have no place to turn, and indeed they're.
I wish I could.
Up and finding.
I wish I could draw on screen.
Health clinics shuttered and soup kitchens closed, and advisors who were helping governments renegotiate debt with China. Those advisors, now taken off the books. So just the wreckage in the world.
Attention, full spectrum survival. I saw a thread of yours on this YouTube for members only. Spelled members incorrectly. Getting on that.
Is what the USAID staff that I'm in touch
mustache. I wasn't thinking of mustache so much as just squaring out the jaw. Maybe a little bit of a goatee. Maybe a little GT action. At least some stubble, some shadowing.
Are carrying with them. That's what's keeping them up at night, as much as the question of what am I going to do tomorrow, and how do I take care of my family.
Just do a screenshot and open the screenshot in Paint and Presto. Unfortunately, the streaming thing I could do that. I'm gonna have to do that for the future, because the streaming program that I'm using, I don't have it so that you could see Paint. I'd have to preset it up so that you could see Paint or whatever I choose to draw in. So I don't think that's a bad idea, and I think I will have that set up in the not too distant future. This is Make Gold Great Again. It's a Twitter account. 33 million of ounces of real silver. I'm dyslexic. Give me a break. Got withdrawn from the vaults in 2 weeks. 99% of borrowable, redeemable for physical silver shares are gone. They say big money is racing for the exits and something big is brewing. Callbacks not getting filled. A lot of people saying they can't get their silver. You know, they want you to hold a digital copy of something you can never, ever hold in your hands. And it's like games and streaming services. They've made it acceptable in our entire population that you never own it. So you buy a game or you buy a movie digitally, you never actually own it. You own the ability to stream it from that company. At any point in time, they can cut you off. It's the same way with physical gold, physical silver, all these different things. You don't actually own it until it's in your fingers. So think about that next time you make a purchase. And my son's actually doing this right now, my oldest son. He is buying the things that he likes digitally, physically. So it's like, DVDs of his favorite shows that he streams. He's using his money that he makes to make those purchases. Get physical copies because the internet goes down, whatever happens, you don't have access to it anymore. All right, let's see what else is going on. Giorgia Meloni. This is Italy. This is a translation that I can't verify because I don't speak Italian. The translation says from now on, if you enter illegally, you will be immediately deported from Italy.
Darsi ai trafficanti di esseri umani perché vi chiedono molti soldi, vi mettono su barche che spesso non sono attrezzate per fare quei viaggi e in ogni caso se entrate illegalmente in Italia sarete trattenuti e rimpatriati. La nostra situazione no.
I don't know why I would keep watching that like I'm suddenly going to learn how to speak Italian or understand Italian, but hopefully she's saying what they say she's saying, and we're starting to see a little bit of a harder line stance on countries right now saying, you know what, if you're a criminal in any way, you're going to get treated like a criminal. I'm going to try to flip this back around and see if I can't get to some of this video not inverted. But you know the deal, guys. If I've got to flip it, I'm going to flip it. Inside paper says the odds of an asteroid hitting in 2032. How many years does that give us? That gives us 7 years. Have now risen to 2.3%. That blows my mind. And they keep pushing this, and they keep raising the percentage chance that it'll hit Earth. So what would happen? I'm going to ask Twitter's Grok here if Asteroid 2024, and I think that's the whole name of it, YR, hit a populated area of Earth such as New York City. Okay, Grok says if 2024 were to strike a densely populated area like New York City, the consequences would be catastrophic. Here's what we can infer from the available data. Size and impact energy. It's estimated to be between only 130 to 300 feet. That kind of blows my mind. How does something 130 to 300 feet, how is that able to cause such devastation? I know it. I understand the physics of it. I understand the science of it, but it's wild. Upon impact, it could release energy the equivalent of 8 megatons of TNT, 500 more times the explosive force of Hiroshima. The assessment is based on information from NASA and the European Space Agency. The direct damage of the impact would be an airburst similar to the Tunguska event in 1908. Now, that caused a massive amount of damage in that era. If you do that today, you've got a huge loss of life. Destruction of infrastructure. The buildings will be obliterated or severely damaged. Now, think about this for a second, okay? Just for a minute. Asteroid hitting Earth, AI mid-journey. Now, think about this just for a second, okay? If we were to have an asteroid hit Earth like this, and if we were to get really torn up by an asteroid, would that make sense why all these politicians are acting like there's no time to lose in their corruption? They're actually acting like they know that the world is going to end at some point. And so if you think about that, they maybe realize something big is going to happen. Maybe it's not an asteroid. Maybe it's the bird flu they're all warning about. Maybe it's an economic collapse. Maybe it's just the currency, the USD going down. Maybe we find out that all of the gold has been disappearing and we don't know where it is. Who knows what they're worried about? But what if they know something bad is going to happen? And that's why they seem to not be scared at all about the consequences of their actions. It's just something to think about because, I sometimes try to put myself in their mind and I'm like, why would you do this? Why would you act like this? So maybe there's a little bit of a reason to it. It says fire and debris. The airburst would cause fires across wide areas, leading to casualties. Shockwaves would break windows and knock down structures. The air quality would be impacted. We would have long-term effects that would mimic the worst of all climate changes. The economic toll would be enormous. You'd see massive global reactions. It would take an international response to change things. So, not good. Let's ask Grok another question, okay? I want to know what common events that happen to humans on a day-to-day basis have a 2.3%, let's just say a 2% chance of happening. Okay, so the reason I'm asking this is because they say that this asteroid has a 2.3% chance of actually hitting Earth in 2032, 7 years from now. What common things happen with a 2% chance? Getting a flat tire. They say at any point, you have a 2% chance of getting a flat tire. How many of us have had a flat tire? Food spillage. If you eat several meals per day, the likelihood of spilling something significant enough to require its cleanup is around 2%. You tip over a cup, the barbecue sauce goes over. Receiving an unexpected call, not from family or contacts, but someone you weren't expecting, around 2%. Not today if you think about the spam that comes through our phone. Running out of a household essential. So that's like you didn't know you were that low on bread or milk or whatever. Or maybe not putting your toilet paper back in the, you know you're low. You're like, okay, I better put a new roll of toilet paper there. Not doing it is around 2%. Forgetting something important, around 2%. Minor traffic incident, around 2%. Unexpected weather changes or technical glitches. It says these percentages are rough estimates. They can vary based on circumstance. But you have about a 2% chance of this happening to you. And a 2% chance of an asteroid that will cause a massive destruction on Earth, hitting the Earth in 7 years. That tells me that just maybe, for a second, all of what these politicians are doing, all of their corruption, their lying, their not caring what they get caught doing, their greed, they're only thinking about today. They're not thinking about how they're going to screw up our life tomorrow, next year, our kids' lives. They're not thinking about any of those things. Only their greed drives them today. And so if they know something big is coming, maybe that's why. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Let's get that rolling, especially if you're coming into this live show later and you're not watching live with us. Tell me what you think down in the comment. Elon Musk says big money fraud is happening in Medicare and has directed DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. I still can't believe that DOGE, that the crypto DOGE isn't blowing up. How are people not like, I see this, it's actually going down. That blows my mind. It's not down to where it was in November of last year, but it was at 40 some cents. How is it going down? Why doesn't the market like that? I don't know. They say we desperately need action now in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. John Kennedy said different things about Social Security.
Give me an example of how screwed up the data is.
All right, I've got to flip this around because it looks like it has maybe been published somewhere.
Mr. President, this is a strong indicator of what's wrong. The Social Security Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their records, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older. They say
let me hear that again.
6.5 million
I was reading
Americans
something and I'm like, hold on.
who are at least who are 120.5 that there are, ask them. The Social Security Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their records, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older.
If that's what we're paying out on the books, that's ridiculous. Let me see. How many Americans are over 110 years old? 32,000 is the best estimate in the 2000s. They say there's 6 million, and there's actually around 32,000. Now, does that mean there's corruption in government, or is that somebody's sister, younger sister, keeps getting that check-in, and they're like, no, she's fine. Don't worry about it. She's fine. They went through a private funeral. They didn't alert with a death certificate, nothing. Maybe that's what's actually up. Nemesis, thank you. I'm kind of mad about the YouTube and the super chat thing. So we try to cut it right away. Anytime you hear music, I try to cut that right away just because they're sticklers about it. It's crazy. It is crazy. I'm right there with you. So he says there's 6 million people on Social Security over 110 years old that are getting checks.
They say there are 6.5 million Americans who are at least 112 years old or older. Now, I don't know about you, Mr. President, but I don't know anybody who's 112 years old.
He looks like he might.
And I checked, at any given time, there are about 40 people on an ongoing basis in the world who are fortunate enough to live to be 100. Let me give you...
I don't know about that, whether there's only 40 people, but I know there's probably not a lot. I mean, 112, we could... Yeah, me too. We could be so fortunate.
To be more anti-Elon, anti-Doge protests out here at the U.S. Capitol tonight, and you can see it's extremely quiet. People packing up their signs and going home because they were canceled. The protests were canceled because it's too cold outside.
Colleen Hartman, thank you so much for the super chat. This is your third super on the live stream. I appreciate you.
You would think when you're calling somebody literally Hitler and Trump and Elon are Nazis, you'd think that maybe it's a little bit cold outside. It's like 36 degrees. You'd still come out if you actually believe these people were Hitler. They're just
Mitch McConnell's
regurgitating talking points.
I think Nancy Pelosi just turned 666 maybe. I've got a video of her today. I think she just hit 666 by chance at the grace of, that's in dog years. I'm not sure. All right, let me get back to this.
From the mainstream media, from the legacy media, telling them to say these things, and they don't believe any of them at the end of the day. It's all a big... a farce. It's a farce that the American people are no longer believing. That time is over.
Hey,
the
Ingrid.
legacy media has lost their grip. The Democrats have lost the plot totally. And you can see it's just not working.
Now, there are a lot of people showing a lot of hate for Elon Musk, Donald Trump right now, and they are calling for war in the streets. But hopefully it's like this, and they don't actually show up, and no one actually gets behind it. Sick and Tired, thanks so much. My apologies coming in late. I'm on mountain time. Blessings to you all. So, YouTube put out this thing like, hey, maybe try a little bit earlier and see if you can, get more of your community involved. And so that's what we were trying. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, we're all here every day. Matt Burgess, thank you for the super chat also, celebrating the 20th super on a live stream. Thank you, Sick and Tired, and Matt Burgess so much.
One of the quietest nights out here at the Capitol that I've seen in a very, very long time.
Ingrid Stewart, thank you for the super chat. Thanks, Brad. It's Ingrid and Charlie. Love you. Much love to you guys back. Kelly and I have always been so amazed at our community being such an awesome. Look, I watch lives and I see that moderators are like banhammer, just deleting people completely, banning them from the channel, getting rid of them because people are nasty. Our community here, so great. And when somebody's nasty, we're all just like, why are you being nasty? We're all here together. So thank you. Cordell says, email me. This is about our next currency. destroying the Federal Reserve note. Ripple will be our next world bank. XRP will be backed by real-world assets. RLUSD will be the dollar. So you can send me any information you have, Cordell, to fullspectrumsurvival@gmail.com. I appreciate the heads up. And, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm always watching. This is reportedly an Israeli strike. Caught on video, closed-circuit television. Interestingly, they say one of the missiles lands beside an individual. Doesn't even hurt him. I don't think there's any audio with this. Okay, he heard part of the strike. Now, the reason he didn't get hurt is because these are supposedly precision missiles. And so they're not supposed to cause a lot of collateral damage. You're not supposed to have huge explosions. You can see if, I don't know who it was trying to hit. Maybe that guy on the motor scooter, or maybe it was late on this vehicle that's coming up right. Oh no, that was a motor scooter. Whoever it was supposed to hit would have been F in the chat for them, because they would have been gone. Where is this even coming from? Where is this dirt coming from? It must have blown it, 10 feet up into the sky, 100 feet up into the sky. But thankfully for that guy, if he wasn't the target, thankfully for him, yeah, it did go deep. What's crazy is, let me see this image right here, right? So we've got the clearing of this debris. Let's look at the Pennsylvania PA medical jet crash ground image. Now, I'm not saying that's what this was, but there's a lot of people out here saying, it looked like some of the things that, a missile came down. And there's a lot of similarities there. Now, maybe just when you've got something, I'm not a physicist. I'm not an engineer. All I'm doing, I'm a watcher like you. And so when I see this one here, I'm like, okay, I've seen something similar before with some questions around it. So, I don't know. Just worth watching and seeing. Looked like a miss on the moving scooter. I'm surprised they would try to take out a scooter, if that's what that was. I've seen Israel now deploying drones. And these drones are scary, guys. I hope that the people who don't like America never get their hands on these drones. Because these are FPV drones, first-person view drones. They're like this big, have an explosive charge, and they zip them through the windows of cars, moving vehicles. These FPV guys are better at video games and living like autists than I ever will be. I couldn't take enough vaccines to be as much of an autist as these guys. And they are rushing these FPV drones through moving vehicles that are turning around. There's no doubt they would have hit this guy on the scooter. Colleen Hartman, I did not get a notification on this live. What time are you doing these? Are you juggling the schedule until you find out the best time? Yeah, so YouTube actually suggested we go a little bit earlier today to get a broader bit of our community involved. I haven't seen that actually work. I don't know. YouTube, I think, just kind of like they throw enough stuff at the wall to see what finally sticks. But we gave it a try. We're going to find a schedule, Colleen. Thank you so much for the super chat. Hey, Storm, glad to have you here. We were just talking about our moderators here on the channel. So this was interesting. This was very close. This was in Pennsylvania right here. This was in, let's see. It doesn't even say. It says it's an Israeli strike, but I don't see where it actually was. For anybody who wants to watch it again, this guy must have heard something. And then it was all downhill from there. Thank you, Lori, for becoming a member here on the channel off of today's video. Anybody who wants to be a member, it's right next to the subscribe button down there, and our members ask that we do these lives for everybody and keep them public. Not everybody can be a member and support like that, so thank you for doing it. That guy on the scooter looked like he knew what was up. I've got to get a little closer there. He looked like he knew. Let me see if I can turn this around. I doubt this is copywritten. He looked like he knew what was going on because he's ducking, covering. Is there 3 people on this scooter? Or is he just crouched down? Now there's some debris that lands in the upper left-hand corner of this screen first. Right as this guy goes by, there's a bit of... Okay, so you see a shockwave on the left-hand side. You see a shockwave hit this metal door. Watch it right about... when this scooter goes by, watch the left-hand side, the metal. Shockwave right there. Guy looks up. Boom, it hits the ground. Definitely something we've got to watch out for here, guys. When the world starts going crazy, that's why we watch these things, right? Because this isn't going to stop with this. And the similarities there to the PA crash, at least as far as what happens to asphalt, do not get lost on me. Somebody says, there it blows.
Is going to happen is we're all going to sit down and do a great computerized system for our control towers. Brand new, not pieced together, obsolete like it is land-based, trying to hook up a land-based system to a satellite system. And the first thing that some experts told me when this happened is you can't hook up land to satellites and you can't hook up satellites to land. It doesn't work. We spent billions and billions of dollars trying to renovate an old broken system instead of just saying cut it loose and let's spend less money and build a great system done by 2 or 3 companies, very good companies, specialists.
That's right, red hot.
They used 39 companies. That means that 39 different hookups have to happen. And I don't know how many people of you are good in terms of all of the kind of things necessary for that. And it's very complex stuff.
Okay, Trump, get it out, brother. What are you trying to say? Let me hear it.
When you have 39 different companies working on hooking up, different cities at different people, you need air controller systems.
I just love,
and
there are certain things about the way different people speak that you really have to just, you're like, come on, just give it to me. Sick and Tired becoming a monthly survival card member. Thank you so much for the membership there. I appreciate it. And make sure Kelly put a members only post out. Make sure that you'll see it in the members only section about how to get the monthly cards. Sunday has me worried. Is Sunday the Super Bowl? Okay. Hey, Bobby Bacha or Baca. So Sunday, the Super Bowl. I'm still hearing chatter in open source intelligence that something is going to happen around the Super Bowl time, but it's not going to be at the stadium. So if you're like, well, I'll just watch the game with the bros and try to see what happens there. It's probably not going to happen at the stadium. We've got nuke sniffing planes overhead. We have mobile units that can smell out contagions. They're measuring the particulates per billion in the air to look for changes and variations. We've got the dogs inside. We've got massive checkpoints set up. We've got snipers everywhere. Super Bowl's, the location's probably not going to be where it hits. If something was to happen, it's probably going to be off-site. Maybe off-state. I don't know. But they're going to want to use that collective direction to look at what they want. Jordan, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Sent out an email to you about the monthly survival cards a while ago. Okay, I'll make sure Kelly gets that.
Bells would have gone off when that helicopter literally even hit the same height because it traveled a long distance before it hit. It was just wouldn't stop. It was, follow the line. But bells and whistles would have gone off. They have them.
Imagine being in your helicopter and the bells and whistles start going off. All right, let's move on. Okay, we keep watching videos every day about how you never know when your time to encounter a life-threatening situation is going to come. Now, this guy's this is his line of work, right? He's a cop. This is not a romance movie. This is not anything that he's not here because he got a little too frisky, had a little too many drinks. He's not here because of any inclusion programs. This guy is a cop, and he is here trying to enforce the law. Looks like there was a crash. Now, as we're watching this, the more I watch it, this is a pretty bad crash. And I'm like, this guy is the guy on the ground. The potential perpetrator is either, thank you so much, Sick and Tired. I really appreciate it. He's either disoriented because of the the extent of the crash, or he's on something, and he might just be drunk. Now the cop's telling him, chill out, bro. And there's no chill in this guy.
Oh my god.
Okay, I gotta turn the music off. There's some music playing in the background. Now, I don't know that he might be drunk, because this guy did not have, he had the wherewithal to put his glasses back on. So that's a very routine action. If you're disoriented because of a crash and some traumatic brain injury or shock, you're probably not going to slip on the glasses. You're probably going to, stumble all around. He goes back to his vehicle to grab a freaking axe, a hatchet. Now, what did the cop do? Did he pull out his real tool? Okay, he dropped the taser, and he's like, I got to pull out my real tool here because things just got a little sunny. Dude is bigger than Michael Myers. And he's approaching. Who's going to come after a cop like that with an axe? I thought maybe someone shot because of the way that the camera guy pulled down, but no one shot. The cop's trying everything he can do not to drop this guy. I mean, he should be he's got two hands. He should be pepper spraying, tasing again, and putting him on the ground if he doesn't want to drop him. Well, let's listen. The guy's like, you know what? It's chilly out here, bro. I gotta put my... I gotta get the Jackie or the wife's gonna be... I love these live chats too, Greg. I'm glad you're here. Alright, so he's putting the Jackie back on. He's like, this is good. I'm gonna drive away from this. No problem. And then the cop's like, no, you're getting tased, bro. Now, if this is the same cop, he pulled out a secondary taser. The same, I'm cold. I hope you're well, DLD. I think the cop maybe wanted this guy to land in his car. And the guy didn't. So there's probably a little bit of TBI going on after this. And then they go in and get him. Lots of cops arrived. I don't know. You just don't know, guys. This world is going freaking crazy. So if you're out there in your city, don't think you're immune. Even if you're in your house, don't think you're immune.
They're gonna keep on going. It took hundreds of them.
Now, these are protests. Okay. I don't see anybody in this protest. Maybe the guy on the left. If anybody in this protest actually came from Mexico, maybe the guy on the left. But maybe Steven, right here in the middle, maybe he's actually straight from Mexico. Maybe Barbara, his mom to the right, she's from Mexico. Maybe the kid she's holding, maybe little Timmy, he's from Mexico. Maybe the lady in the left, maybe she's from Guadalupe. But it doesn't look like. This looks like a co-opted protest. Thanks, Super. Thanks for that. Stick and Tire says, buy a membership before the live stream ends. Joe Brad, we love his channel. Well, thank you so much for thinking about us. And I have to thank again all of the members who, when we started this, they were like, let's keep these lives for everybody. They would rather enjoy it with everybody here than just a small group of people. So thank you guys. Somebody said they look super Norwegian.
Guess what? When you stand up, we're standing up.
This guy's saying we're standing up against ICE. Now, seeing this armored vehicle, I'm probably not standing up against that. Right? Like, you got to realize that if it comes to you and that and the tools that are inside of that, while you're on the side of the street, it's probably not going to be you that wins that fight. You're never going to bleed the gang. Or the hair gang. No chemtrails, nice blue sky, somebody says. So you got federal agents, you got the cops showing up in the plain clothes, you've got the cops showing up in the plain vehicles. This is Aurora, Colorado. They said they arrested Tren de Aragua gang members. So are these people protesting that they don't want the gangs out of the country? Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm not seeing the bigger picture here. That they actually, hey, Houston, that they actually want to keep the gangs inside of the country.
We're limited to a handful of apartment complexes,
I wanted to get back to that.
and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem?
I just love that. That was one of the clips that was like, okay, this guy thinks on his feet, because they're really trying to minimize a real problem. It's like that Monty Python movie where the guy like gets his limb cut off and he's like, it's just a flesh wound, no worries, right? Gets his legs cut off, it's no problem, and he's still hobbling after. You can't try to minimize a problem like this where you have a gang operating at the order of their leaders from other countries inside the USA, taking over U.S. apartment complexes, holding U.S. citizens hostage, violently attacking U.S. citizens, and they minimize it by being like, it's only happened a little. Could you imagine if they talked about, like, yeah, the Holy Grail, that's right. Could you imagine if anybody tried to minimize violence against children like this? Even though violence against children is actually happening with this, the fact that they're minimizing it should show you how bad the actual situation is behind the scenes, right? This person says, at this point, conspiracy theories might as well be called spoiler alerts. So that's funny. Yeah, that is sad. Hey, Michigan. Don't be like Chuck Norris. Y'all be careful. Yeah, that's right. Don't be like Chuck. I haven't even seen Chuck in a while. I wonder what he looks like this year.
Mark Moyer.
You know, you've got me thinking. Chuck Norris 2025. All right, Chuck, you still got it. I'm still thinking Chuck could, especially if he employed the use of a cane or something, he could get that leg up and he could knock your jaw clean off.
He's a USAID whistleblower, and he joins me now. So, Mark, you started at USAID, and what they do, the first thing that they send
let me skip past what this guy
didn't get into the agency till February 2018, and this is one of the big differences that we're already seeing. That in 2017, Trump administration was very slow to get into the agency. So I get there in February, and we have what's called a privilege walk as part of the orientation,
awesome,
where you
that's right, Derek.
Are given an identity. Now, I was a Scandinavian woman, and so when they read lines like, I get discriminated against because of government services, or people don't look how I look. So you took a step forward if it applied, and if it didn't. And so I ended up near the front, and the indigenous woman with
Chuck Norris peddling vitamins. Maybe they work for him. I don't know. I've got my Flintstones next to me. Okay. This whole video might go bust because of what I'm about to show. But I'm not making fun of this individual. Okay? This individual is very distraught. And they're having a real hard time with the perception of reality that the rest of the world is kind of like gaining. They're real worried about having to spend their own money instead of your money on their own medication.
Insurance isn't covering medications anymore.
Now nothing inflammatory, please, in the chat. Nothing that YouTube's gonna hate, please, but you can think your own thoughts. We're not the thought police here.
Thanks to
at least be diplomatic, okay? I'm not making fun of this dude. This person, this individual, it might have a real problem with the way things are going.
Thanks to executive orders that were signed, so I had to pay for them out of my own pocket.
Had to pay for his own medication out of pocket. That ain't the voice that you thought was going to come out. All right, that's good.
Covering medications anymore. Thanks to executive orders that were signed, so I had to pay for them out of my own pocket.
Rough.
And I guess I'm just mostly recording this as an I told you so to certain family members.
So that's an I told you so. That People who are interested in their own life choices are going to have to pay for those choices themselves. What's this world coming to? I don't know if we're going to make it out of this, guys. If you have to, pay, I wasn't expecting that voice. If you have to pay for your own medication out of your own pocket, based only off the decisions that you want to make in your life, crazy. It's like if a guy in his 40s or 50s, like Alex Jones, wanted to get buffed up on the testosterone. I think I've got. Let's look at this, okay? Could you imagine Alex Jones? Let's see if I can even. Oh, what am I doing putting this in here? Imagine Jonesy over here, okay? Working out.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Which this is scary to me. This looks like a Bond movie right here. Now, Jones is probably in better shape than me. Probably in better shape than a lot of people. But imagine him here in his tiny shorts or a little towel complaining that your government tax money did not pay for his testosterone. Imagine, it'd be mind-blowing, and people would just tear him down. Yeah, Goldfinger. This is, he's in Bronze Fist. Shrek the Fourth. Bro looks like a hot job. Tiny frog legs. I love it, man. Now, Jones has been... Jones has been... I gotta take this... Okay, I gotta get off this screen, okay? Alright. I need a second to... Alright. You know what? Maybe we need to end this. Alright, President Trump. I need a palate cleanse.
And religious persecution. Today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias.
I can't even look at your guys' chat.
About time, right? Anti-Christian bias. To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
Okay. RFK Jr. says that Johnson & Johnson has added disease-causing chemicals into sunscreens, the very same things that cause a disease that they profit from treating. He says to bring them to justice. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's happening? I think that there's an understanding that we're being poisoned in many ways, in the food we eat, the water we drink, all sorts of things, and they're okay with it, especially when they benefit from it.
If you heard that type of violence...
This is Elon Musk reposting this right here.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for
yeah, we'll be doing this. I think we're going to be here tomorrow. We're not really like setting a definite on anything. We're just glad when we can do it. And so far, we've been doing it every day.
Democrat officials...
You know what, Kevin, I have, but, I want to be able to give back to more than that at the $10 level. And so, but I'm still thinking about the logistics behind it, because eventually I want to offer something back just at the $10 level, more than just this. So I guess Super Chat would be the best way for anybody who wants to support it, like a $5 level. Probably Super Chat, here on the lives if you like it and are able to.
To incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable.
Okay, DLD, I'll take a look.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republicans...
I gotta listen now, because I still had a image burn of Alex Jones in his tiny little towel with his frog legs and wide chest in my head while you guys were calling him names.
Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here.
Definitely sick and tired. You know, there's a lot of boundary breaking in the truth here. Okay, I don't know what movie was it that there were creatures with giant front legs walking around? A giant front leg creature in movie. And they were like skinny front legs in these movies. Yeah, it was like, okay, I think it was The Mist. Okay? So if it was The Mist and these creatures had these tiny little front legs, that's kind of what I was getting from Nancy Pelosi here. You guys tell me. Now, I don't know. Am I seeing what you're seeing? Are we seeing like Quiet Place creatures? Are we seeing the Mist creatures here? You know all these guys have got to be mad, right? I'm sending my Steam picture to that Alex Jones image. Why does she have hiking sticks? You know all these guys have got to be mad. Or ladies, or whatever they want to say. They can probably barely pay some of their bills. And this lady uses your tax money, funneled through corruption, to buy massive stocks around the laws that she helps shape. And they're like, my mortgage is due. While she's like walking through another 48 millions of your dollars like Scrooge McDuck. Dirty cheaters. Definitely is a creature. Crypt keeper. Crypto keeper is what we should call her. So I don't know why. I mean, wasn't she just in a wheelchair? So maybe there's a medical necessity here. For me, it was giving very Mist creature images. Now, is Nancy Pelosi against? Is Nancy Pelosi? Now, remember, some wild things happened with her husband. Against Second Amendment. She expressed her commitment to bringing down our epidemic, life-saving new legislation against the Second Amendment. Her forthright acknowledgement of the vote is to welcome public recognition, calling for a ban, Nancy Pelosi, on weapons types. Now, do you think that this guy right here in the trench or the long jacket, do you think he doesn't have a defense tool under there? How about the guy walking behind her? Do you think he doesn't have a kinetic projectile tool that can throw out brass and lead and gunpowder? How about the other guy who was walking here? How about at her house that you pay for? How about at her security surrounding her house you paid for? So she's all for defense when it's defending her life. But if it's defending your life, nah. Doesn't work that way. Sorry, folks. This is a different show. You're on a different reality than these people. All right, what do we got here? Peru's river turning pink. They say Barbie is taking it in the river. Okay, can't play this. Got music. Let me just turn the music off first. Now they're saying this wasn't a setup. It's not for Valentine's Day. It won't let you super chat Nemesis. That's weird. Maybe this got defunded or something because of those that 3 seconds of audio we played earlier. I don't see anything here. So maybe we're okay. Maybe there's just a glitch and you got to reset. All right. River turning pink in Peru. Now, we have a lot of things happen in which the rivers change color. Statues start to bleed. We have die-offs in certain bugs. Alex Jones did it. Lots of things start to happen all at the same time. Do you remember that there was a whole bunch of world-changing things happening right before the Fukushima quake? Another series of world-changing things right before the financial crisis and then COVID. It seems like the world kind of knows that we're going into a weird time. So is that what's happening here? And we do have some bird die off and fish die off. Biblical, somebody says. I'm not sure. Nemesis, thank you so much. Testing the 199 super chat. Now, I remember this report coming out, and it came out maybe 3 months ago. We reported on it, where they said that there were football field size unidentified things moving fast across the ocean. This is Rep Burchett. Let's see who he is really. Okay, Burchett, don't know how to say his name. Congressman, represents the 2nd District of Tennessee, the same state, the first state to make chemtrailing illegal at a state level. See what he says about the UFOs.
One of the things you said in an interview, you talked about a conversation you had with a U.S. admiral. They tell me something's moving at hundreds of miles an hour underwater, as large as a football field underwater. This was a documented case, and I have an admiral telling me this stuff. What do you believe exists on Earth in terms of extraterrestrial?
The guy looks like, man, who is the guy from The Office? It looks like if he played, you remember when he played a news personnel in that movie, like a news person in that movie, which he was talking really fast. I don't remember what it was, but he looks and kind of sounds like him.
What do you believe exists
That's
on
weird,
Earth
Colleen.
in terms of extraterrestrial life?
Well, thanks
and
for
what
letting
have
us
you seen
know.
proof of?
Well, there's some things I've seen proof of that I can't discuss, and I've urged the White House to disclose these things. You know, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars
Michael
researching
Scott, maybe.
something.
I know. The Office cast. He's a big guy. I just don't watch enough movies to know. Steve Carell, I think is his name. And wasn't he like a news anchor in a movie? Let's see. Yeah, Bruce Almighty. That was right. Remember, he started talking real weird and real fast. Thanks, Nemesis. Have you heard anything about the fog situation? I read there was a test done in Florida. Can't confirm. So I'm still waiting on somebody to send me the third-party lab results. They said they have them. I'm waiting for them to send them. But I am hearing a lot more people that got mycoplasma and Magellan bacteria when exposed to the fog. So that's interesting. Mycoplasma can cause a pneumonia. Magellan bacteria can cause a whole bunch of other things. Maybe there was some. Now, was it otherworldly or government or conspiracy based? Maybe it was just some weird environmental thing. You know, I don't know. Remember when we had the dust coming over from the Sahara and it was making people sick in Florida and Georgia? Maybe it's something like that. But if I get those results, I'm sending them on. Okay, so Steve Carell, he did this Bruce Almighty thing, which I can't play, of course. But this Bruce Almighty, he sounded a lot like this guy to me, and kind of looked like him, honestly. Everyone, please refer friends here. I had to check daily for honest info. Thank you so much, Colleen. And yeah, if you guys use oregano oil, if you're able to be a member of this channel, please be a member with your super chat. So Bruce Almighty. I don't know. This is what I'm seeing when I look at this guy. Maybe it's just me.
And now that I can't
be this stuff. With the things you said in an interview, you talked about a conversation you had with a U.S. admiral. They tell me something's moving at hundreds of
millions of dollars researching something, and now and then you have one group telling us they don't exist, and I have the best pilots in the world telling me, Tim, this thing was 14 feet from my canopy, and he went and he did this, and I've seen things that I wish the public could see. There's just a lot of unknowns. And again, they tell us they don't exist, but then they issue redacted reports, and they're still studying almost every one of our alphabet agencies.
Why do you show? I like that. GW said, "Why do you show the woods or words backwards?" So this is already published out there, right? And so AI and bots and everything. We're living in a day of AI, and your ability to even show commentary on publicly available information, even though it's completely fair use and completely rights free to you to make commentary on, for us to all talk about all these different things, that doesn't stop the big bad AI lawyers. And so we have to kind of like adjust it so that obviously we as a community are not taking advantage of this information, and instead we're just talking about what's happening in it.
We had testimony that said they have a recovery unit. Now, what are they recovering? I'd like to know. It's our tax dollars. We have a right to know. And when
But I'm dyslexic, so the backwards doesn't bother me. And when I read that GW, I just read it like it was normal.
when government thinks that we can't handle what's going on out there, that's when government's gotten a little too big, and we need to cut their wings off. And right now, they're spending. Our Pentagon has got all this dark money. You have the alphabet agency studying these things. One group will tell you they exist, the other one doesn't.
I have more Jellens. The fog is making it worse, says Stacy. Be safe, detox. She talks about using food-grade hydrogen peroxide. Definitely, you have to think about some good detoxing and what it means, what that means to you, and do what you're comfortable with. Whether it's fruit pectin, which is a good heavy metals detox, according to government studies. Not me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any medical advice. Colloidal silver is still in use today as a world. Colloidal oatmeal, things like that. So there's lots of ways out there that you can find comfort for yourself. Fasting, intermittent fasting. You have to do what's right for you.
I just think it's time that we have total disclosure. And you all in the press ought to be for transparency and disclosure. I don't see a problem with that.
So that's interesting. Him saying that, admirals to our military, flight deck leaders, flight deck guys, they're telling him what they're seeing and how bad the UFO thing is. Maybe it's our own government and their own projects. These are under disclosed projects. I'd rather my tax money went to making some otherworldly craziness like flying, teleporting ships or missiles. I'd rather your tax money and mine went to making teleportation that we put missiles through and hit the bad guys with, rather than them making, turning mice other genders in other countries. Okay, this video, I need to do some follow-up on this. And I don't know, because I'm not sure when this was. But this video is reportedly a individual who was setting fires. Okay, here we go. All right, maybe we can read it together. I guess this is valid, okay? Let's read it together. Come on now. LA residents chase down and stop possible arson suspect. They say you were in the wrong neighborhood, pal. Bud. Suspected arsonist. No chance of escaping justice when concerned residents took action. Now, I'm two-parted on this, right? On one side, these people did what was important to them. On the other, we're getting real close to vigilantism in the USA. Now, do we need either justice or vigilantism? I can't say that. But I'm seeing where more people are, and look, this is even the news, saying this guy had no chance of escaping justice. Residents took action, tackled him to the ground. Now, the danger here is, what if this guy wasn't doing it? Innocent till proven guilty, but the cops should have been here quicker. So this guy's chasing him. He gives the run. He's like, "Nah, you ain't going nowhere." Then other people start to stop. They're like, "Hey, he was doing arson." This guy gets out. You can see right about here, he's grabbing his gear right here. Okay? The guy in the background's like, "Hey now, hold on, I thought we were just going to talk." Okay, he puts him on the ground, but he's not like, no one's jumping around and kicking him, but there could be a day where an innocent person gets mob jaw-locked because of this. This is the sweatpant brigade. These guys, they knew what was up. They're like, "Bro, get your sweatpants on." The cops finally show up here. Who knows how many minutes went by. At least the cops knew what was up. And they were like, "Okay, one of you get this guy in cuffs. The other ones, let's go talk to these people." Now, if he was an arsonist, innocent till proven guilty, right? That's our system. But if he was an arsonist, this right here in the upper right-hand corner of this video, or left-hand corner for you maybe, that's what we need to see. In the cuffs. And then we need to ask who paid him to do it, or what motivated him to do it, or why he was doing it. Those are important questions, people. These are the questions that we need to be asking. Looks like I'm just waiting for our bitrate to get back to where it should be here. For a second, it looks
That's
like
real life.
YouTube's not liking what we're talking about. Okay, we're back up. We're an hour and a half into tonight's live show. I want to thank you guys for being here with us. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your night to watch what's going on in this world with us. And thank you for talking about all of these things with us. And, of course, for supporting my family and what we do to bring awareness to these things. So thank you guys so very much for everything that you do. We're not quite finished yet, but we're getting close. What a great place that we could all just sit and talk together, right? This says they didn't hold press conferences when people couldn't pay their rent. They didn't hold press conferences when people couldn't afford gas or groceries, which a lot still can't. It says, thank you, everybody. What am I seeing here? Same here. My Starlink has been slow lately. Yeah, so, and Starlink has been, and Musk just put out a thing tonight where he's like, hey, I'm streaming Path of Exile 2 or something on Starlink. So he needs to boast it and boost it in our areas. This person says they didn't hold press conferences when Venezuelan drug gangs took over entire complexes. They didn't hold the conferences when there was no aid to North Carolina and people were suffering. They didn't hold press conferences when they left $8 billion worth of military equipment to the Taliban. They didn't hold them when they pulled out of Afghanistan. They didn't hold them when they lied to you about inflation. But now they're outraged because we're holding press conferences about the new direction of America. Head back Starlink when we boondock. You have to. I mean, what else is there? I used to do hotspots like the T-Mobile mobile hotspots, Verizon mobile hotspots. Those were garbage. I mean, we could never do a live show on those. And they throttle you and take your money everywhere. It was just crazy. All right, let's see. All right, we do have two more important things to watch. We're going to get to it in just a second.
Sending a letter to Secretary Duffy. It's a clear conflict of interest, and Secretary Duffy should make sure that Mr. Musk is not part of the FAA air transportation system. He has been fined for violations. He worked hard to try to get Mr. Whitaker, somebody who was approved 98-0, I think, out of the system. And it is a clear conflict of interest.
How bad of an idea is it to have Doge involved in FAA, which, and their imprimatur has been cut?
So they're asking this person, why shouldn't we have Doge in the FAA? Thanks so much, Derek Fowler. Thanks for the chat. I appreciate you and sending that super chat here.
Cut, and they're short on controllers.
The Congress has spoken. We want 3,000 more air traffic controllers. If President Trump and the administration want to talk to Congress about ways to get even more air traffic controllers because they've been working 6 days a week.
Great idea, Midwest and breakaway.
Take that conversation, and if they wants to help implement next gen
Thanks,
faster,
Rocky.
we will take that. And if he wants to help implement standards for both the military and other commercial airplanes to have this what is called ADSB in and out,
you too,
which
Sharon.
gives you more information about who's in your airspace. We gladly welcome that too.
So you see them backtracking, and they're real afraid now that there's going to be audits inside of the IRS, audits inside of the FAA, audits inside of government organizations and entities. Guys, if they ever audit the Federal Reserve, you better just hide in place. You better take shelter and stay sheltered, because the truth that comes out of those types of audits will not be great. I guess they won't be throwing eggs. Have a good night, MBS says Storm. Breakaway, good night. We're almost done. Not quite yet. This is apparently a shooting in Maine where the guy live streamed himself. Oh no, this isn't it. Okay, this is a guy shooting practice. Where is it? Maybe it's not here. All right, watch this. Just because I like to show you guys things that you know. But accidents can happen all the time. This guy's obviously at a range. He's obviously a marksman. He knows what he's doing. He might be he's either sponsored by the military, working a military sponsored thing. He's repping a military sponsored shirt. Okay, so he drops a mag, which looks like it still had at least one kinetic projectile inside of it. Throws another one in here. His finger is not on the trigger. That's his finger straight out, right? And yet still, because of the operation of this, he has a misfire. Look at his finger way off the trigger. Now, these guys build these tools so that they're very light on the pressure, right? So they're built like that. But still, you can have an accident anywhere, and it's so important that you and your family take safety in all ways. Storm, what were you saying was wrong? Was that to me? Slam fired from Pin.
Washington, Winthrop, and Williams remind us that without faith in God, there would be no American story. Every citizen should be proud of this exceptional.
I mean, negligent discharge. I wouldn't say it was negligent, so to say, only because he didn't operate it in a way that should have been able to happen. Now, what if he purposefully manipulated the tool so that has a higher likelihood of happening? Maybe, but hopefully that didn't happen. At least his muzzle is pointed down range, unless you're flying overhead. That's right, or unless you're unless he's next to a mountain range and you're up higher. There's so many bad things that could happen. Next time I'll just say AJ so YouTube won't pick up on anything. Sorry. Friend of Tedpole. His finger definitely was off trigger. Let me see. Let me pull it back up here so you guys can see. And I'm going to freeze it right where it is. Okay, so he drops a mag. See, his finger is completely off trigger. I mean, look at that. There's no way that his finger was on trigger when that happened. So I think that there was something else going on here. Let's listen to what Trump has to say about the national parks.
Of legends like Washington, Winthrop, and Williams remind us that without faith in God, there would be no American story. Every citizen should be proud of this exceptional heritage. We have an unbelievable heritage, and we have to use that and make life better for everyone. That's why as we approach the 25th times 10 anniversary, think of that, 250 years we'll be celebrating next year of our country's founding. I have signed an executive order to resume the process of creating a new national park full of statues of the greatest Americans who ever lived. We're going to be...
It looks like Donald Trump, they should have shaded his makeup, or maybe he wore like his sleeper mask while he was getting his tan, because he's got a little bit of, like, those are superhero eyes right there. Like old school superheroes, like a superhero mask, early 1900s, okay? Maybe this is the look. Yeah, this is exactly the look that Trump is portraying for me right here, this blue one. So maybe Trump is a superhero, and we're just not seeing what actually is happening.
Make life better for...
This is why I need that editing program, so that I can superimpose that mask right on Trump and then peel it off. Because I'm telling you, when we put that mask on, we're seeing some Batman-level superhero work in action.
For everyone. That's why as we approach the 25th times 10 anniversary, think of that, 250 years we'll be celebrating.
If those are his sunglass marks from the golf course, then he's wearing those Five Below massive square glasses that, some people think are better looking.
Next year.
Brad thinks they're all corrupt. You're pretty right there. If I'm going to err on the side of believing in something, I'm going to say they're all corrupt until proven not corrupt. That they're all against us until they're proven not against us.
Country's founding, I have signed an executive order to resume the process of creating a new national park full of statues of the greatest Americans who ever lived.
I wonder who's going to be on that.
To be honoring our heroes, honoring the greatest people from our country. We're not going to be tearing down, we're going to be building up. It would be called the National Garden of American Heroes.
The National Garden of American Heroes. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about that very soon. Well, guys, thank you for being here with us for another amazing live show and chat between us. Thank you guys for all the commentary you had. Thanks for all of the laughs that we had. I didn't think that I was going to get that cracked up looking at that AJ video or the picture, and I hope that I never have to see it again. But if I do, I hope it's with you guys. So thank you for being here with us. From my family to yours, please stay safe. Good luck out there. Remember that your environment around you is not as safe as they want you to believe it is. And on the opposite, it maybe isn't as dangerous as they want you to believe it is. Your safety is in your hands. Please, everyone, watch out and good luck.